I have always wondered why there are so many people but so few human beings. The question is, why are we losing our humanity? Being human is a given fact, but retaining our humanity is a matter of choice. The lead theme of this presentation, the quintessence of the being. How do we look at the basic ground realities? It is so very important to get down to the basics, to get down to the fundamentals. Shakespeare in Hamlet writes that man is the noblest of God's creation. Man is a work of art. Yet he despairs that man could also be greedy, man could also be vengeful. So the whole question is, how do we retain our humanity? I would like to address this by looking at 6 different perspectives. Perspective number 1, the quintessence of the being and the quintessence of compassion are 2 sides of the same coin. They go together. What is the purpose of life? The sole purpose of life is to serve humanity. We are all born with the gift of unconditional love, but unfortunately we don't seem to realize this. There are so many role models that we have encountered in our lives. Mother Teresa comes to mind. She used to say, tending to the sick is a privilege. In fact, she used to say that she tends to the poor because she wants them to die with God, to die in peace, to die with dignity, irrespective of whichever religious identity they come from, a Christian or a Hindu or Buddhist, whatever it may be. When she first set up her Missionaries of Charity home in Kolkata, many local youth came and complained to the local police station that it is time to get her out of the place because of the type of patients that were coming there. The police commissioner visited the home and realized the amazing work that she was doing. And he called these local youth and told them, if your mothers and sisters are willing to do the same work, then I will be the first person to evict Mother Teresa from there. Secondly, the quintessence of the being should imbibe the quintessence of religion. There is no religion higher than humanity. Every religion talks about the community. But unfortunately, today we are encountering a problem about religion. Perhaps the problem has to do with the inability on the part of religious leaders to relate to power, to authority, to influence, and even the flow of money. So this is a major problem. That is where Tagore used to say that my life is my religion. What is religion without the human dimension? It doesn't make sense. I think religions are today caught in a silo of their own. There is a tendency to be exceptional. Any form of exceptionalism, I think, leads to a scenario where we tend to be judgmental. So this can be problematic. We have seen this also as parents sometimes, how we can indoctrinate our kids about racism. Even society can do that, the state can do that. So I think racism also is the outcome of judging. Catherine Mio, who wrote this famous book, Mother India, 1927, stereotyped about Indian values, Indian culture, Indian society. And Gandhiji called it a drain inspector's report. Let us realize every human being has a value in human terms. And I think unfortunately these days, we tend to do all that religion advises us not to do. The third perspective is, the famous Greek philosopher used to say, Socrates used to say, that unexamined life is not worth living. I think we need to constantly look within before we moralize to others. Leo Tolstoy used to say that everybody is eager to change the world, but nobody wants to change himself or herself. Gandhiji echoed the same idea when he said, let us be the change we want to happen. I think there are 2 reasons for this. One is the problem of human vanity, anger, envy, jealousy, self-importance, status, anxiety. We all tend to be eye makers, and this can be a problem. Secondly, I think there is this problem of greed. Human greed is a bottomless pit. Without mentioning names, we do know so many people who have been very successful in life have fallen into that bottomless pit. So I think there is a dilemma because it also indicates human nature in more ways than one. And hence, I would just like to quote a role model of recent times, the Dalai Lama, where he says that we neither live in the present or the future. We live as if we are never going to die. And when we die, we have never really lived. Perspective number 4, greatness and humility should go together. These are very rare qualities, I do understand. Field Marshal Manekshaw, when the Pakistani troops surrendered in then East Pakistan, sent a message to all his generals stating that make sure that the prisoners of war are treated with dignity and that they are treated in keeping with the Geneva Conventions. He also visited the prisoners of war camps. He shook hands with Pakistani Subedars, and one of them came up to him and said, in my 25 years of service, nobody has come and shook my hands. There are so many role models that we can think of. Nani Palkiwala was a great man, a man with great humility. On one occasion, a reporter asked him, how is that you are able to retain your humility? And his immediate response was, I have always been conscious of my limitations. In the business world, in the corporate world, we have the Azim Premjis, the Narayan Murthis, the Bill Gates, the Warren Buffetts, the Jeff Bezos, the list is endless. They have always had, all of them have inflated wealth, but they do not necessarily have inflated ego. I mean, their integrity is perhaps non-negotiable. So what does success mean in life? Success is not necessarily your richness or your prosperity or the celebrity status, which is necessary but not sufficient. Success has to do with leading a virtuous life, being wise, and most important, being sensible, because common sense, we say, is not so common. I think leading a simple life requires courage these days, as they say. Perspective number 5, I think it is important to reflect on the very uniqueness of the human being. The Homo sapien, it's a Latin term that means the wise man. Do we behave wisely or are we self-destructive? D.H. Lawrence used to say, the famous poet used to say, the only animal we have to fear is man. How do you rationalize a Hitler, a Heng Samrin in Cambodia, ISIS, or even a Jihadi John, the pogroms, the genocides, and all that is happening in the name of religion in terms of global terrorism today? There is something about human nature in this. And that's why Aristotle, way back 335 BC, said very beautifully, man is not capable of becoming gods, but man is capable of becoming beasts, and sometimes the worst form of beasts. Now, why does this happen? This happens because what Yuval Harari calls the cooperative hive mind, where we can do good and we can do bad. We can be constructive, we can be destructive. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, who was part of the Manhattan Project, after the tragedy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, said, I am death, I am the destroyer of the world. 200,000 innocent Japanese lost their lives. So I think this is the greatness of the human mind, that we can do good, we can do bad. And I think this is something that we have seen in terms of huge changes as far as modern medicine is concerned, modern science is concerned, even the digital revolution, where life has been made so comfortable for each one of us. So this brings us to the whole issue of looking into the uniqueness of the social traits of humankind. Darwin, in The Descent of Man, beautifully says that humans and animals differ only in degree and not in kind. We have seen animals possessing human qualities. Chimpanzees, as you know, are very emotional. They can cry, they laugh, they have in-house politics, they make love. Look at dogs. I'm reminded of my pet dog, Puggy. I mean, he was an embodiment of love and faithfulness. But there is one difference. Unlike humans, animals never kill without a reason. They do so only if they are hungry, for example, or if they are angry, or if there are disputes about territorial jurisdiction, or if they are in search of mates. So the human beings basically are advanced versions of animal instincts. And that is why there is a higher propensity for human beings probably to become more destructive, illogical, unreasonable, and sometimes insensitive also. So I think The scenario is that we have the possibility of doing both. We can create new life. At the same time, we can creatively destroy this planet also. Perspective number 6. What is the role of education here? I think education is the most useful weapon to bring about change, Nelson Mandela used to often say. But today, I think one of the major problems we face is the problem of intellectual hypocrisy. We have different standards for ourselves, our family, and for the others. Now, this can be problematic. It is a question of we versus them. That should not be happening. Jadu Krishnamurti, the well-known Indian philosopher, used to say that education is freedom from conditioning, different types of conditioning. Will Durant beautifully encapsulates this when he says that education is an ennobling enterprise, it's an ennobling intimacy. Education is the reason why we are human beings. So what is the purpose of education? Education is basically meant to help us grow individually in body, mind, and spirit through knowledge, action, and love. This means we need to look back to our morals and to ethics. Character formation, as Swami Vivekananda used to say, is so critically important. It has also got to do with the whole type of virtues that we cultivate. Very often we get caught between these two worlds, the arrogance of power and the arrogance of money. Let us not be trapped between the two. So what matters ultimately is the quality of the mind and the quality of the heart. Religion and education has to do with inner transformation. That is the basic purpose for which it is there. So what is the overall message that I'm trying to give you? That we need to be good human beings, definitely. But being a good human being is a long haul. It is a lifelong effort. And there is no time restraint or constraint for us to become better human beings. There is no perfect human being. So we have a better chance. Being human is a privilege. Let us enjoy the thrill of being human. Let us realize who I am to understand the harmonization and the unity of the body, the mind, and the spirit. In conclusion, every person is a beautiful being. Every human has value. Let's recognize that. The sole meaning of life is to make the world a better place. All successful people are not necessarily good human beings. But I think the constituency of those, that constituency has to increase, wherein you are both successful in life, at the same time you can be a good human being. And that is definitely a possibility. Let me wind up with the beautiful quotation of Will Durant, where he says that there are two great days in a person's life. The day we are born, and then the day we realize why we are born. It is indeed time to realize why we are born.